How many times can I change my mind? Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly Eastway. Now, after a successful run on the inclines, I thought it might be a good idea now to start looking at building the traverser. Now, I've given a lot of thought to this, and it's probably going to be the Fiddle yard and the traverser all on the same level. But I do want to show you these little bits. I've filled in that. They're not perfect, but they do the job. There's another bit down there. Bit in there. Now, the problem with this area is, as I said before, I've screwed the track down, but I can't get a screwdriver in there. So it's been a bit of a problem. So you just notice I've actually just dribbled some glue in there, and I'm just going to go with it. The tape is holding it down at the moment because, again, I can't get too many clamps in there. I haven't got that many clamps, to be honest with you. I've got 4 of these and 2 of those are being used elsewhere. So, but anyway, I've put a little wall along there, so hopefully that'll stop trains from falling off. And this little bit round here. Now, you might remember I took the bottom track out towards the window and cut a slither off the top section so that a train with a pantograph could come out from the tunnel section where my hand is without damaging the pantograph. But having realised that actually I still need support on the top, I'll probably use a piece of metal plate or a piece of plastic card under the track on the top section just to give it back a little bit of support. Right, so you can probably see that piece of paper just there. Now, that was one of the templates that I used to make these segments. And by joining all those together, it made the curve for the track bed for the ramp, as you probably saw in a previous clip. But if I cut the 100-degree angle on one part of it and then leave the rest straight, that will come across here like that. Now, my only issue is this leg is too far forwards, because you might just be able to see there's a beam running across there, and this leg is attached to the front of that beam. However, if I take you down here, that beam or that leg is attached to the bottom of the beam. So what I'm going to do is move that beam back so it's in line with the rest. That's my first job. Catch you later. Welcome back. So you can see now I've replaced this leg and put it underneath the beam above, and put a couple of London brackets either side of it just to hold it in place. 20mm screws going down and 50mm screws going across the top. So that should be fairly strong. Now, you'll also notice this rail across here. Now, my first thought is that I put a board on that, and then I can have 2 or 3 storage tracks for whatever that might be, smaller things, that type of stuff. So my first thought is that instead of having a board here across the whole distance, is to actually take advantage of that, because that's just over 1 metre long, and drop it by about 20mm. So that continues a 2% incline right the way from back there. Never know, I might even be able to drop it a tiny bit more. It depends on the distance from there through to that point over there. But then that will mean the Fiddle yard sits a bit lower. Now I'm hoping, which is actually going to be a good thing, because as you can see, we've got the incline on the outside here, and there is a possibility that when trains are on the traverser, it might catch that incline, because obviously we've got a vertical support rail running down, and also in the far top left-hand corner where my hand is pretty much, you could probably realise there's a support bracket, and again trains could catch that. So it's really important that I make sure that I can get it as low as possible. Right, so you can see now I've got the track bed in, and you can see the percentage there. Really happy with that. And that goes all the way around there, around here, back up, up, and joins up with that bit there. Hopefully you know where you are. But so I'm really happy with that traverser, and I don't think I'm gonna the ramp. I don't think I'm gonna have any massive issues with that. So I'm now looking at the traverser. Now this is that's the track bed to the traverser just there, and you will see there are some draw runners, or as a draw runner, and there are 4 in total. They fit onto this unit, and there are 4 stretchers, if you like. I'm not sure quite what the right term would be, and there's another one at the end. So first job is I need to check how high the traverser track bed sits on top of this unit. So I'm going to bring that down and then lift that out and put it on top of that, and then we can work out some heights, because as you can see, I've got to get it to there. Join you shortly. All right, welcome back. Now I got carried away with working on this. I forgot to film anything, but hopefully it should make sense what I'm up to. Now I've made this like table type affair, which is 2 pieces of plywood, and then you've got these 2x2 stretchers across the top, across the 2, and then each have got 4 wheels over there, 4 wheels to take the weight, because that is not light. So the idea would be that that will sit on top of that and won't be bolted down, because I do want the height adjustment to be able to work. Now, what I've done then is also reassembled the traverser. So you can see there are 4 heavy duty draw runners there. And as we come down here, yes, I know the back leg over there is a little bit crooked, but I've used kitchen feet on the whole of this, so that I've got that height adjustment that I was just talking about. In fact, I've used it on the whole layout, because that helps to level all the different parts of the layout on such an uneven floor. Now, as I said, this will then need to sit on top of this. So that's my next job, and I'm going to go and have a cup of tea now. Catch you later. Right, do you remember a few videos ago when I put out something that said, ever wish you hadn't started something? Well, this is proving to be one of those. It will work, and I'll make it work, but it's throwing up so many different issues that I hadn't anticipated. I mean, at the end of the day, it does look like some kind of hospital bed, doesn't it? But anyway, start with the trolley, the bit at the bottom, the trolley I'll call it. Now, the wheels that were situated at either end, I've put them out as outriggers, and that's to help stop it from doing that when the bed is at full expansion this way. And I don't know whether you can see it. I'm looking at that foot over there. You might be able to make out there's a piece of wood going across the top, albeit on the wonk, but nevertheless, it's holding that foot down and again, stopping it from doing that. And I've also put a removable block in there. I'm sitting down at the moment, so I can't lift it out. But there's a 3D printed removable block, which is keeping the feet tight up against that back rail and keeping that foot under that block that I've just pointed out. Same again at the far end. Okay, so that's to help keep it nice and stable. Now, to get this traverser up to the height of that rail coming in, these feet, the kitchen feet, are almost at full extension. So what I'm going to have to do is to take it off again and maybe put some 2x1 blocks underneath those feet, and that will lower that expansion down by quite a lot. I did kind of anticipate that might have to happen. Might also be able to make out that this part here is slightly on the wonk. It's tilting up ever so slightly. How that's happened, I'm not entirely sure, because all that over there is level. So there must have been a bit of a twist in that board. That's the only thing I can think of. But it's not a problem. I can soon put a piece of 2x2 across there and sort of cause it to do that. And I think I am going to need a lip underneath there, which will then run underneath that bit, and that will help keep it level too. Now you'll probably realise that I can only get the one track coming in at the back of the traverser, and even then the traverser's not going to be able to take it anywhere. So what I'm going to have to do is put a piece of board in so that I can get a track further into the centre of the traverser, so at least I can operate the slide mechanism. Welcome back. Now, it might not look as if I've done an awful lot, but actually I've spent all day just correcting the issues that I discovered in the last video. So if I start down here, one of the first things you'll realise is that that leg is now straight. It was off on the tilt, and I looked at it on the video and I thought, I can't leave it like that. Even for a strength point of view, I can't leave it like that. But I've also added this here, which is 2 pieces of chipboard. I've used what I've got. I'm not going to go out and buy new stuff if what I've got will do the job and do it well as well. So 2 pieces of chipboard, 15mm each, that's a drop of 30mm. That means then that the windings on the leg, if you can see from there, looking at this bottom bit, because obviously that winds up, but that's got a range of 40mm. But look at it now, it's a lot lower. So that means I've got ability to raise and lower if I need to. What I've also done is, on the last clip, I talked about having a little block in here. Just made more sense just to move this leg down a bit, so it was actually nearer this block here. So it's still clamped down on that far side, but it's not, the gap here is a lot less. So even when I do this and bring it right over, and let's just knock that block off, you can see it's not tipping as it was before. The whole thing literally just tipped over, and it's quite a scary moment because this is not light, as you can appreciate. So that's all done on both legs, so that's hopefully should be a lot better. I've also put the handle on here, as you probably would have realized by now. Now let's move on. I think that's everything on this board. I don't think I highlighted anything else, but let's move to this section here now. You might remember that strip coming down here was on the wonk, and the reason for that, whether you can see it or not, there's a bracket there, look, and it's not tight up against that back rail, but when you're putting things up underneath, it's really hard to get them fixed exactly as you want to. And I thought I'd got it right, but actual fact, as I tightened the screws in there, it literally just caused it to drop. So by loosening those screws off, I've still got the support, but it's actually helped that to become an awful lot more level. Now you've probably seen this part here. That came from the previous iteration of the layout. It's got adjustable feet on it, so if I need that facility I can. And I've cut it down so that this board, this piece of plywood which I've screwed to the top, now sits directly under the track bed. So the track bed has also got something else to rest on. Oh, that reminds me, I didn't point out the fact I've put the runners back in, and you may be able to make them out over there. You may or may not. And then I've added that piece in here, which will help me to get tracks down to this area here. As I said before, I'm hoping to get tracks. If I push that in, yep, that's as far as it will go. I want to get the trains coming in on this track, and then I can just have a point across and a point across. But yeah, I might have to put in a little triangle piece in there so that the tracks come in a little bit more gently, but you know, that's the way it is. Okay then, so my next job is going to be to sort the track out, because obviously that needs to be relayed and readjusted. Points put in here maybe, that type of thing. Get it all wired up, but you'll have to wait for another video to see anything running, and maybe even running from bottom all the way through to the top. Wouldn't that be exciting? Okay, I'll see you again really soon here on Piccadilly Eastway. You take care now. Bye-bye.